All right. Hi, everyone. Similar to every Zoom thing you've been on, we're going to wait a few minutes just to get some stragglers, and then we're going to get started. So hang tight for like 2 minutes, and then we'll get rolling. Okay, welcome everyone. Thank you for being here. I know this year's weird, but I've actually enjoyed this setup as opposed to be sitting in the Century rooms eating a plain old sandwich and a bag of chips. I'm able to sit on the couch, made a little lunch. I'm not too mad about it. So thank you for being here. This session, in case we're in the wrong areas, is how to recruit new members and keep them. So we're going to talk about some recruitment techniques and then also retaining our current members, especially in this climate that we're in right now. So I am going to introduce a little helper really quick, Michaela Wells. She is our graduate assistant in the Office of Student Involvement. She does assessment and community service and really all sorts of things. So she's going to be moderating today. So if you put something in the chat, she'll be at least acknowledging it, and we'll get to all of those later. So thanks everyone for being here. Obviously, I've done this presentation many times, just never during times like this. So there's a few slides where it literally has a big all red X, and it's like, this doesn't apply anymore. Let's talk about it. So I'm going to go ahead and get started here. Also, I am in my apartment, and I have two very wild cats. So you might see Chief or Slugger running around. They are feeling themselves today. So, of course, when I'm busy. Okay, so we are going to get started. Let's see, make sure. Okay, yes, they are my cat supervisors. A little intro about me. My name is Mindy Dilly. I'm the Associate Director of Student Involvement for like a month now, maybe not even. Prior to that, I was the coordinator of fraternity and sorority life, so I still get to oversee that community, but I also get a whole bunch of fun new things under my umbrella. So there I am, lovely picture of me. I am a two-time alumna of Missouri State University, so my undergraduate degrees are in chemistry and communication. I was going to be a dentist at one point. Everyone's like, chemistry, what? I then got my master's degree in higher education administration or student affairs. So that kind of means the all non-academic side of things. Right out of graduate school, I moved to Stillwater, Oklahoma, which if anyone's from there, I apologize. This is not a diss at you, but it was not my cup of tea, even though they had some really good restaurants. I missed the cheese, pepper, bacon, cheese fries from Eskimo Joe's, or Oklahoma, Eskimo Joe's. Yeah, it's a restaurant there. At Oklahoma State, I was the assistant coordinator of student conduct. So I dealt in that realm for about a year and a half. And then I moved to Lincoln, Nebraska, where I was the assistant director of student involvement, which is where I met Michaela. So Michaela was a student there, and now she has come to UMSL to get her graduate degree. So while I was at Nebraska Wesleyan, it was a small school problem, so I kind of got to oversee a lot of things. So our Office of Student Involvement was 2 people total, and we pretty much just split Greek life, leadership programs, their programming board, orientation, SGA, bag of tricks. So that's kind of me in a nutshell. Lots of my experience is very random, but recruitment and retention has kind of followed through with all of those positions. So I've dealt with student organizations or just organizations in general throughout that. One last little slide about me, maybe, there we go, is that I am an ENFJ, if anyone has done the Myers-Briggs assessment. Those are some of my top strengths there. And then that new thing that's going around, the Enneagram, you all know what I'm talking about, like numbers. I'm a 2, so very relationship focused, very empathetic, very feelings oriented. I'm a blue in true colors. So actually there's a little video I'm going to show you. I will probably tear up. That's just how I am. So you'll see, like, that's why recruitment and retention is really important to me, because that's dealing with people in our organizations. And that's why I've spent so much time kind of researching how we can better improve that in our organizations. So how do we recruit? I think when you all have joined an organization or you got fooled into taking a leadership role, maybe you weren't there at that meeting and they nominated you, or maybe you took it on your own. I'm so sorry. You probably were never really like trained on, well, how do you do your job? You probably were given like a binder or maybe a Gmail account, which there's a transition session later today. But also you're now stuck with this organization that you have to keep afloat. And I don't think we talk about how to recruit members. I think we just kind of expect them to come. When one, I think we can all be honest with ourselves that our student population at UMSL is kind of unique in a situation where, like, y'all got real life stuff going on. We don't have a huge on-campus residential population, which is totally fine. So but that still, that kind of makes it hard for students to, well, yeah, let me turn back around and come back to campus at 7 p.m. The likelihood is not high. Especially, you know, some of them are working, so some of you all are working several jobs. Maybe you're taking care of a dependent. Maybe you have a family of your own. We just have a lot going on. And so student organizations isn't always our top priority. And honestly, I'm going to tell you, like, I have 2 jobs now as an associate director of student involvement. And some of my extracurricular activities aren't a priority anymore because of those things. So we need to learn, like, how do we get members into our group? And then once we have them, how do we keep them engaged and feeling important? And that's where we're kind of just going to do some crowdsourcing later. So how do you recruit? I'm going to give you a few steps, but I'm going to trick you. There's a pre-step. So the pre-step is you really need to know your organization's why. I'm going to pause really quick just so I want to make a note, and I meant to do this earlier. You know, I am at home and I'm on my really awesome Spectrum internet. It usually knows when I'm in a really important meeting, and that's when it decides to shut down. So if that happens, we'll make it work. I'll come back. Michaela can ad-lib a few jokes. So just a heads up, I will return. It also sometimes doesn't like my octave level that my voice gets, so I'm gonna try to keep it mellow. But if you know me, that's gonna be really hard to do. So your first pre-step is to know your why. So why should people join your organization? Why should people care? I'm gonna show you 2 examples of 2 little short commercials, and then we're gonna kind of talk about this idea. I'm gonna play this video. I have tested it through Zoom, but you know, technology. So if you can't hear it, it sounds terrible, throw it in the chat. I'll probably just stop it and we'll just talk about it. So, okay, let's see here.
don't read and write poetry because it's cute. We read and write poetry because we are members of the human race, and the human race is filled with passion. Medicine, law, business, engineering, these are noble pursuits necessary to sustain life. But poetry, beauty, romance, love, these are what we stay alive for. To quote from Whitman, "O me, O life, of the questions of these recurring, of the endless trains of the faithless, of cities filled with the foolish. What good amid these, O me, O life? Answer, you are here, that life exists and identity. The powerful play goes on, and you may contribute a verse. The powerful play goes on, and you may contribute a verse. What will your verse be?"
Okay, I hope everyone was able to hear that all right. I checked in with a few of you and it seemed to be okay. The next one is the one that I normally get a little teary on. So this is the last example and then we'll chat about it.
Here's the contact info.
Vamos que eu vou fazer café da manhã gostoso pra você.
P&G, proud sponsor of Moms.
Okay, so Michaela's gonna keep an eye on the chat. If there was any problems, I'm sorry. Oh, there's Chief. But what did you guys kind of notice about those commercials? And this is the part where you might need to like unmute yourself and like share some thoughts. So what did you guys notice? No, you're fine. Okay, you guys are gonna make me do this, fine. I guess that's why they pay me the mediocre bucks. Well, if you notice both of those commercials, I felt like they like incited some feelings. Yeah, they were simple. Okay, yep, I will do that. Yep, this is great. Good comments, all of those noted. But they were simple, they incited feelings, they made you feel emotions. Those companies, so Apple and P&G are two really great companies to use as examples as to they know their why and that's how they sell items. So honestly, like both of those commercials, the first one and the second one, The second one, especially, you didn't even know what company it was or what product they were selling till the very end. And P&G sells like Tide products, Dawn, dish soap, things like that. So they use their why, and that's what they recruit with. So there's this whole theory called the golden circle. I don't know if anyone's familiar with Simon Sinek, but he does. His Start With Why TED Talk is one of the most viewed TED Talks like ever. Sorry guys, my cat is really, get out of here. And he talks about this whole phenomenon about the golden circle. And you'll see there's a lot of layers. So the very first layer, that outer layer, is the what. Everyone in your organization should be able to easily say what you do. Like we're the marketing club, and we help marketing or future marketing professionals learn kind of the tricks of the trade. We talk about tips on how to market, strategies on how to do those things. Everyone knows how to do the what. Well, then you get in a little deeper into the circle, and some people, a good handful in your organization, probably even know like how you do things. That's probably like your exec board or your really involved members. So how do you prepare future marketing professionals for the job force? How do you talk about and learn about really kind of trending things in your field? So that's that second layer. But very few people and very few organizations even know that kind of inner core on that, like why. Why do you do what you do? Why is the marketing club, and I just keep using the marketing club because it came to my head. I'm not picking on anybody, even though I think it's great. Why does the marketing club exist? You know, it's not about making money or having results. Why are you asking people to take time out of their day, potentially asking off of work, so therefore potentially losing out on getting some cash money? Why are you asking people to be a part of your group, and why does your organization exist? Why should people care? So I think where a lot of companies, student organizations, corporations, where they fail is that when they are promoting themselves or trying to recruit new members, they start with that inner circle, that outer layer. So they start with like, hey, come join the marketing club. We meet and we talk about trends and marketing professionals across campus or across the country. We're gonna have some presenters. How are we gonna do that? The presenters are gonna come. We're gonna do some research. We're gonna share some of that. And then they maybe touch on the why. Well, you just saw two examples of Apple and P&G where they flipped the switch. They start with that inner core. So they start with the why. Why should you buy an Apple computer? Because our products are innovative. They are created to make life better. And when your life's better, you are able to experience so much more. Well, how do we do that? Well, we create products that are easy to use, lovely design, customer friendly. And what do? We just happen to make computers. Did you see the difference there? Like they start with what can we do for you? And our wise purpose is to make your life easier. P&G, for example, their why is to make products that allow busy moms, families, spouses, siblings, brothers, whoever, they want their lives to be easier so that they can be excited and celebrate those big wins and help support whoever's important to them to chase their dreams. Because how boring would those commercials have been if it was just me doing the dishes in my kitchen? And yeah, this Dawn dish soap does a great job. But no, their company's why is to create a better life for their customers. So you all need to know, like, why does your organization exist? And it needs to be deeper than just, a social connection and those very surface layer goals. And not a lot of people know how to do that. And so that's kind of your pre-step that you need to learn and know. And everyone in your organization, anyone who's recruiting or talking to potential new members, needs to know that themselves, because they need to be able to effectively communicate that. So that mom commercial gets me every time. So let's talk about tabling. So this is normally my first step in recruiting, but oh, just kidding. Not this semester. So there's actually not even an opportunity for you to have an in-person tabling opportunity on campus. It's like not being allowed in the MSC just for safety reasons. So this is, I'm going to be completely honest, it's going to be tough, especially with we're all virtual, we're all on Zoom all day. Like it's hard to get students to want to stick around in this virtual world. So we need to like figure out how we're going to get people involved. How are we going to learn who's out there to even contact? How are we going to get that contact information? And how are we going to then continue that follow-up to get them involved in our organization? So let me see. Okay, so this is going to be a part where if anyone has some suggestions, I'm going to share a few that I've had that I've shared with some of my groups. Looking at the list of students who are here, I'm very familiar with a lot of you, and I know a lot of you are doing really great work, so like feel free to share some. But I feel like instead of tabling, which is always still not easy, but I feel like that's an easier way to off the bat kind of get some names, at least, or some faces out there, is to use the resources that are available that maybe we haven't used as much in the past. So if you were in our morning session, Rainer talked about our involvement expo is now virtual, and we're going to use a platform called Flipgrid. Well, then I mentioned that I had just checked the Flipgrid yesterday, and there's only 20 student organizations on there. And so I know we're all trying to get into the swing of things and stuff like that, but that right there is like an easy, free, he typed up the instructions for you. You can put as much time into that as you want, but you literally could like take your phone and record a little something in 30 seconds and upload it. So, and then we are actually pushing that out all across campus. So like that's an easy way that you could use your resources with us. A question was asked in that last conversation about commuter cache. Commuter cache is a program where they identify events that commuter students would be, well, commuter students are welcome at a lot, but events that would be commuter cache eligible, and they throw those out there. A lot of your organization, like a lot of your events, especially your like just get to know us events, maybe not just the members only type stuff, but a lot of your events that are open to anybody could be commuter cache eligible. And it's really easy to do that. And then the commuter cache folks like help promote you that way. Another thing that I've really noticed a lot of your organizations have already picked up, because I follow a lot of them already on like Instagram and Facebook and things, is that your social media has really got to ramp up. As someone who I'm, a bit older and not as hip with the trends, I've had to kind of force myself to get into like Instagram. I started a TikTok. Oh, geez. Like, some people are still on Twitter. Some people are still on Facebook. You really need to be paying attention to your pages there. Especially over the summer, I manage several Facebook pages and Instagrams just for my job. We got a lot of DMs this summer like, hey, I'm not seeing information about such and such. Are you going to post about that? Like, I'm like, oh, yeah, I probably should. Like, I had a million other things going on this summer, but that was important. I feel like, you guys kind of think about it. When I'm thinking of like a restaurant that I want to go to, if I can't just find my information easily by Googling specials on a Wednesday at Cracker Barrel, because I did Google that the other day, I went to their Instagram and I was like, what are their specials on Wednesday? I think it was the chicken and dumplings that day, if you're wondering. But so you guys need to make sure that your social media pages are updated. Make sure your contact information is correct. Like that is like step one. And then also if you have contact information, whoever's information that is, or if it's like a generic, like we have a Think Greek email for fraternity and sorority life questions, someone needs to be checking that email. Like, and I know that sounds so like, duh, but when you get busy with other things and that's not your personal email, sometimes you don't get into the habit of that. So Another thing is that when you're on social media, I've been asking my groups to do this, follow other like-minded groups on whatever social media page you are. So if you're trying to get first-year students involved in your organization, NSP, New Student Programs, has an Instagram page. Follow them. See who's interacting and asking questions on their posts, because a lot of them are probably new students. Maybe request to follow them. On Facebook, you can invite people to your page. Like, you kind of have to be a little like, gotta hustle to like get some people, because even if you have an active Facebook page or an Instagram, if you only have like 5 followers, like, first of all, that's still great, so proud of you, but like, that's not gonna be as widespread. So on my particular, I'm gonna use, I'll use the Office of Student Involvement as an example. We have social media pages, but then I also ask, you know, our other staff members, can you share this on your personal, if they're comfortable with it, can you share these posts on your personal social media pages? Because then maybe someone you happen to be connected with will be like, oh, I didn't even know that existed. We'll get a like or whatever. So it's really all about creating that buzz and getting those people to follow you so that the information that you do get out there will be utilized. And then the last thing I really wanted to quickly touch on this slide is that we really need to start using MyEngage and the campus calendar more effectively. And I will be the first one to tell you, MyEngage was all of Rainer's job. I was like, I don't understand it. Like, I'm not gonna try that hard. But with Soul, for example, he created this event in MyEngage. If any student was to go to events, it kind of popped up pretty soon because it was coming up. It was also on the all campus calendar that like anybody can access, like visitors, guests, potential students. And so like just having that event out there, not only marketing on your social media pages about your events, like posting your flyers and things, but having that event itself. Like, I even just looking for Soul, I ran across 3 other events that were coming up next week that was like, UPB was doing some tie-dye last week. That's cool. And they had an event in MyEngage that I happened to see. So I think in the past, maybe it wasn't so important that we did those things because you probably had a banner in the rotunda that a lot of people went to and saw when they went to the Nosh, or you were able to table a couple of days leading up to your event. Well, we can't do those things. So we need to make sure that we have accurate contact information. We are utilizing all social media platforms because not everyone is on Instagram. Not everyone is just on Facebook. It kind of needs to be all over. You need to be following up with people who contact you with questions and really making sure that your MyEngage information is updated and correct. So going off of that, follow-up is like the next big step that is so important. So I think someone asked the question about in your MyEngage portal, people who are not a part of your group can actually like send you a message and they can be like, we get a lot of those to the Office of Student Involvement. So they'll be like, hey, Office of Student Involvement, I'm having problems RSVPing to Soul. How can I do that? You guys need to make sure that timing is important. So I would really try to, whoever's managing your social media or your email or MyEngage, like they make it a regular habit of checking those things. I try to respond best within 24 hours, business hours. But I think times are weird, so give yourself some grace. But also things need to be personalized. And this is where my ENFJ and my strengths come in. I am much more likely to really care about and genuinely be concerned if someone is sending me a response that says like, hey, Mindy, I appreciate that question. Here's the answer, as opposed to, you know, when you can like mail merge and just do like, hey, Tritons, thanks for contacting the marketing club. Here's our first event. Y'all, we are not that big of a community here. You know, there might be 20 to 50 people that are interested in your event that you're sending this email to. And while that, yes, that is still a lot of emails, that's not enough that you can't go in there and be like, hey, Mindy, It was really great connecting with you at Soul on Saturday. Here's that flyer we talked about. I hope you can come. So make see that like that just makes that person feel like, okay, we did meet at Soul. We did talk about that. I appreciate that you remember. I'd be more inclined to attend that event as opposed to just the generic, the emails I'm talking about that you normally just go delete. I'm just as guilty. So follow-up is important. Now I'm going to tell you, I'm so awkward on the phone. I'm awkward in life, actually. I mean, you saw Chief, like my life. Earlier, I had this hair that was like, whoop. So, and I know the phone, if people aren't comfortable, that's fine. But I do think calls or personal Zoom meetups is really going to be important this semester, especially. Even if that's a text message. And I know there's like some safety questions, or maybe just your cell your cell plan. You don't want to give out your personal cell phone. A lot of people don't know that there's a service through Google Voice that you can actually create I don't want to say dummy number because it's still kind of like an alias phone number that you're able to throw out there publicly that then just gets routed to whoever or whatever number is set up to that. So a good example is I've used that the past couple years. For those that don't care about fraternity and sorority, we're not going down that route. I'm just giving you an example. So sorority recruitment, every year a new student is generally in charge of that. There's normally a lot of questions about that program because it's tedious. So every year we had to create new little business cards with that particular student's information. We had to update all of our websites to make sure that student's info was on there. Well, a couple years ago, I just was a terrible job at doing that. And we just talked about how contact information is important. So we just created a Google phone number that is now like our sorority recruitment number. And it just can go on the website. On the back end of Google Voice, you can change like who has access to it. So I just change whoever student is in charge each year. That number stays the same. And it's kind of nice because then I have a record of like the text messages that I sent last year, the calls I had. So I just wanted to throw that out there. That is an option for you. And that is a service that's free for use that Google number if you're not comfortable with putting out your own phone number. 2, our second kind of, since we can't table, recommendations are going to be critical. And I think they always have been, but again, I think we've leaned on meeting new people. If you guys think about it, you have a lot of connections just within your own organization that I don't think we're tapping into. So here's how I would start any kind of recruiting brainstorming task by creating a potential new member list. And really this potential new member list can have anyone on it that just is not currently a member. So it doesn't have to mean that these are all the people that you would actually invite to your organization if you're, but it still could just be who potentially could. So like I would ask all of your members to write down anyone that they have a connection with that, that they've met through Soul, that they saw during orientation, or maybe is in their class, because all classes have rosters. You're able to see those. So like use your resources. I kept this slide up there without the big red X because there's still a lot of examples on there that aren't necessarily at an event. But some of them obviously are, but I didn't want to totally cross out the whole slide. So like, athletes are still on campus. Who have they been interacting with? Even though we're virtual, people are still living in the residence hall. So who lives on your hall? Who is in a class with you? Who's coming from your high school? Who knows your little brother or sister that's coming to UMSL? Like everyone knows somebody, maybe not like well, but that still will give you a list of people. Especially if your organization is like department focused or like student nursing, like, you kind of have like a group. Any nursing class you're in, who's around you virtually? Who's on your roster as a name that you haven't seen at your student nursing association meetings? Shoot them a quick email. Be like, hey, Michaela, I noticed that you were in my Nursing 500 class. I'm totally making this up, by the way, guys. I don't know any of this stuff. I see obviously you're interested in nursing because you're in the program. Did you know that we have a student nursing association group just for nursing students? And here's why you should be interested in joining. Could I invite you to the next meeting? Or could we meet up and talk about what you could gain from our organization and vice versa? What can we gain from you being a member? Like, there are always lots of people around. I just think, again, like, you know, in the past, we've kind of just leaned on, there's people around, we're tabling, we're going to put posters up. Well, now we can't really do that. So creating this list is going to be critical. And then once you have those names, do that reaching out. Because a lot of people, I'm going to tell you, they're not going to reach out to you. If you put a flyer out saying, here's our number, contact me, they're probably not going to do that. So you guys are really going to probably have to take that first initial step and say, hey, Karen, I noticed that you liked our Facebook page. Can we chat about membership? Or can we talk about your interests? Like, that would be pretty cool to me. I would be much more willing to, like, maybe I should check this organization out because Karen reached out to me. So it's all about those personal connections, especially in this world when we don't have them. Okay, Chief, yep, you're done. All right, informal recruitment events. So this is another strategy for you. This slide has an X, but I still think there's some options. So you'll see there's a lot of great examples of little events you could have hosted. While Rainer and Jessica Longpeas just went over all these restrictions, and basically you probably aren't going to host in-person events. You can still do other things. Like, you can still do very small, socially distant meetups. So that would be great if you're just trying to reach out to a member and get some interest. Like, okay. You can still do little, like, a lot of the sororities that I work with are doing virtual events that you just pop in, you get to answer questions. Trying to think, I'm kind of drawing a blank. Does anyone have any ideas of some little virtual events that they've either hosted or that they've heard about that would be good ways to get people interested?
In Kappa Delta Pi, we're doing kind of like a Q&A. So we're teaching Honor Society, and we're planning on doing like a Zoom meet conference where members or even non-members, you know, can pay and come ask existing teachers questions that they're concerned about for the future. So it gets kind of not only our members involved, but also just people on campus, you know, and people who maybe, you know, didn't qualify to be in the Honor Society, but are in the teaching field. So, yeah.
I think that is a great example, because, like, even though your organization, it sounds like it's kind of invitation only, you have to meet requirements, you still need those friends of that are going to come to your events.
Absolutely. And they may not be eligible one year, but the next year they could be eligible. So yeah, we're such a small group that, you know, being able to do a larger virtual event, because we don't have the budget. Actually, kind of COVID has helped us in that sense. Like, we don't have the budget to do big events. So, you know, doing a virtual one and finding someone in our field who can come and talk to members is, and, you know, even, you know, accounting clubs and things like that. Anybody who has anyone who's already in the field, you can have someone come and just speak to your members, and you can kind of do like a brain pick. And, you know, it's a good way for everyone to stay involved and, you know, learn about what they're pursuing in general.
Yeah, I think this time is kind of evened the playing field for some organizations for just some of those reasons you mentioned. And I've even noticed, because we're hosting Leadership Discovery Summit in a couple, maybe 6 weeks. It's coming up. It's through Xavier Blackwell in my office. Traditionally, we've only been restraint to speakers who in the St. Louis area who could come to campus. Well, I was able to send that program proposal to my colleagues in Boston and who work at Ole Miss and LSU and Utah State, like, because it's virtual.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I really think it's us using our resources. And like you mentioned, and a lot of people kind of are agreeing, even if people show up to your little informal events that aren't, okay, you're not a nurse, you're not interested in nursing, you're not going to want to join this, or the marketing club, you're not a marketing professional. They obviously have some interest, and then maybe they know some people who could join your organization. So it's all about that net you cast. And I know there was some chat or a couple comments in the chat about like alumni of your organization coming back and helping out and supporting, or even of your program. So I think it's just going to take us to be, the hustle's going to have to be there, and we're going to have to try harder. But I think some of these techniques, we might actually even get to touch some people that we wouldn't have in our past techniques. So great example, guys. Okay, let's see. Okay, so ultimately you all need to know, why should anyone want to be in your organization? What value are they going to get out of that? And then I think you heard me mention earlier, you also, like, what value are they going to bring to you? That's a retention technique, which we'll briefly talk about. Sorry, I knew we were going to spend more time on the recruitment piece because that's like critical right now. But there is a little retention stuff I want to talk about. So you really need to start with that why. I would almost suggest having like an organization retreat where you all talk about, hey guys, we need new members because we're down to 10 and half of y'all are graduating. So in order for our organization to be successful and for all the work we're putting in to continue, here's what we need to recruit, and here's what should we be saying. It should be kind of a group thing. Like, why should people join your organization? So, because honestly, just think, so there's 10 people in your organization. If you brought one new person a semester, you would then go from 10 to 20 just this fall semester. And then again, if you did it every semester, you go from 20 to 40 in the spring semester. And that's if you just had 10 people that brought one person. You all can think of one person who might be interested in an event. Maybe they don't become a full-fledged member, but you need to build that ally system. So really it's going to be, you need to have a sit-down chat with your members, be like, this cannot just fall on our one membership chair or recruitment chairperson. This has got to be all hands on deck. We need quality new members. How are we going to do that? And then it just exponentially grows. So now that we've talked about recruitment for most of the session, I'm going to quickly chat through some retention techniques, because also you don't want to forget about your members that you have now. Like you all actually, you're spending your whole Saturday, guys, here with us for your organization. Like that means a lot to me, but also like your organization should be appreciative that you're doing this for them. And so, like, how does your organization make you feel valued? I think that's what people are really looking for, because it goes back to that, I had to take off work to be here today. I actually did. I serve, so I had to get someone to cover my shift today, both of them. So this is my job, so I had to be here. But if I was a student leader, on a good day, that would have been $400 that I left on the table to be here. So that's a lot. So like, why should I be here? Why is it important? And according to this Harvard Business Review, it is obviously more kind of expensive in terms of effort, energy, sometimes even money to get new members than it is just to keep your current members active. So keep that in mind. You want to encourage new members, but you don't want to forget about the ones that you already have that have put in so much work and that have really given up a lot to make your organization successful. So there's 5 quick R's of membership retention, and you need to give them responsibility. I was in a sorority as an undergraduate student, and we had 250 women, and obviously not everyone was super, involved or cared that much. We would call those members who we only saw at meetings or like on campus, we'd call them t-shirt members because sometimes I'd be like, it was a large group. So I'm like, who are you? But you're wearing a t-shirt that says my organization on it. It's because they weren't given responsibilities. They weren't given a chance to make a difference or to have that buy-in. So this is not saying that you need to give the average member all of the work, do these things. But if people are interested and capable, let them have the chance to do something for you. I am very controlling. It is a personal characteristic. Flaw, maybe, who knows. And now that I'm this associate director role, I have so much under my umbrella, I cannot afford to be on top of everything. And so like, I'm gonna give the people that I work with and the students that I work with a chance to like, they're capable. I've just never allowed them that opportunity to explore it because I've wanted it done the Mindy way. So you need to enforce requirements. You need to have expectations of your members, and you need to clearly communicate those when people are joining your organization. If there's a dues associated with your group, you just need to be upfront about that. Because it doesn't matter if you recruit 15 people to join your organization, and then time dues come run around, 10 people hit the streets because they're like, well, you never said that, I'm not gonna pay that. So, but it's better if you would have gotten 7 of those from the beginning and they knew that requirement of the dues. Or if you're gonna be really stringent on attendance at meetings, just be honest about those. So then people can actually make a genuine commitment to your organization. If you have community service requirements, if you have a requirement to do study hours or to whatever it is, you need to make sure that you're enforcing those fairly also, because no one likes when you uphold them to somebody and then someone else, you're like, I got feelings about that. So you need to be enforcing those requirements. Give out rewards, guys. And this is not just saying like, because we don't have any money. There is no budgets for anything. I'm gonna be honest. So like, this is not just actual physical things. A personal shout out like really can sometimes go a long way. So for example, I'm gonna use Jessica Mode. Her organization she supervises, University Programming Board, hosted a tie-dye event on Thursday, and they had over 33 people there, virtually. That's got kind of a lot, especially in our virtual world. So like, I just did a quick little shout out. We have a group chat, like, and a lot of people went in and just like liked it. And I spoke with Jessica yesterday during a meeting I had, and she was like, thank you for doing that. Like, I worked really hard. You know, my students and I worked really hard on that event, and we were very proud of our attendance, and it was nice to see someone acknowledge that. And then it was also nice to see my colleagues like that. So just figure out how people like to be appreciated. And if you have funds for your SABC, like maybe do a little something. But if not, personal shout outs, letting people know that they're important to you and that they did a good job. One that I really like to talk about is assigning people kind of role models. So I use the term accountability buddy. I should like trademark that, I feel. I don't know if it's real, but if you build a one-on-one connection with someone in your organization, you are less likely to like blow that organization off, right? Because there's a little part of you that doesn't want to let that person down that you've built a relationship with, or that's your accountability buddy. So if you create that right off the bat, while that can't keep everybody, that just adds a little layer of like, okay, Michaela reached out to me personally. She invited me to this meeting. I'm maybe not that interested, but like, she took the time out. I'm just going to go. And then I'm going to go and I'm going to have a great time and be a great member. So try to kind of assign them those role models or accountability buddies to help them through their organization time. And then last one going off of that is help them build relationships. Like I mentioned, a lot of people aren't very forthcoming with like, I'm going to take the first step here. Sometimes it's going to take you to make that first step. Not everyone's comfortable doing those things. You talk to me, like I could literally talk to this couch for like 3 hours and be entertained. Some people, that is not their specialty, and I get it. Not everyone is this obnoxious and annoying all the time. So how are we going to help? But not all organizations are built like that. We don't need 15 Mindy models, because, oh my gosh, that organization would be a mess if everyone was like me. So you need that kind of diversity in your group, and they just might need help finding those pockets, because the people that are a little more obnoxious tend to be the first face people see, and then they assume, oh, everyone in this group must be like that. Well, that is definitely not the case. So kind of help foster those relationships, and that's going to, again, give them that extra tie to staying in the organization. Okay, we still have time to share, but I also want to make sure that my contact information is up here. I also want to acknowledge the comments about the videos. Yes, those are all very legitimate, and it was a complete oversight on my part. That it will be duly, triply, quadruply noted. Thank you. Education is wonderful. I did see, though, I haven't been keeping super track of the chat since then, so hopefully Michaela's been answering some of those. And I'm sure she's taking names if I need to follow up with people individually on things. So
there was a question, Mindy.
Oh, yeah.
So the question essentially was, can graduated members still be members of the org?
Good question. So they can always be like those friends and allies. Technically, you are a registered student organization. So like if you were to request funding from the student activity budget committee, is that what SABC stands for? It is student. You know, if you were to tell them you had non-student, current student members in there, they'd be like, well, these are student fees that are paying for this. So technically, the current members should be current UMSL students. Now, that is not saying that they cannot still be actively involved. Maybe they can even help mentor or be an advisor. That is a great way to keep people involved. They could still come to your events and help support you there. Maybe they'll bring people, but technically, your current members need to be current students. Good question, though. So I'm going to leave. We've already gone over a little time. Michaela is going to throw in the attendance link in the chat, because I want you all to get credit that you are here. So Michaela, give me a thumbs up once you've done that. Oh, she's done it. Okay, so that form just asks for your name, UMSL email, and what organization you're representing. I've had a great time talking to you. I wish we were together, because I'm much more at my Mindy quality when I'm in person. But if you guys want to stick around, the next session they don't start till 2. So if anyone wants to, if they have a great idea and they want to share, or maybe if they have a question, like, I'm sure we all are on the same page here. We're all just drowning and trying to keep our head above water. That's how I have felt.
So I don't confuse everyone, I'm gonna put the links to the session B sessions in the chat. But the first link that I sent all by itself, it says https:/forums.gle. That's the attendance link, and then the next list of like 4. Those are the next sessions that you guys can choose from.
Yeah, sorry guys. All of these links and like it is all confusing. So this is the best we could think of. But you all have been such troopers. I also want to thank a lot of you. Looking at the names, I've been emailed with Rainer's absence. I've had to take over student orgs. Like, oh God. So thank you all that I've emailed that 50 times, or that I've needed to clarify things. You all have been very patient, and I appreciate that.
I just got a quick question here.
Absolutely.
So about that members of the organization, if the organization is like an honor society, would graduates still be members of that?
So like okay, so if you're like a national organization that has like so honor society are very similar to fraternities and sororities. I am still a member of Sigma Kappa for life, but I was a member of Sigma Kappa at Missouri State University. They don't have me on their roster as active member because I'm not a student. But still, like, I am still a member of Sigma Kappa in terms of Sigma Kappa national headquarters. If that makes sense. Just Missouri State wouldn't have me on their records as a current member of Sigma Kappa. Does that
Okay.
make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
Okay.
That's a great question. Well, I'm going to stick around for a few more minutes. You all are welcome to scooch. This has been lovely. I appreciate you all.